Hello there, Big Benedict here. We're playing Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2 on the Series X, and this is my Angel of Death difficulty guide and walkthrough. We're currently on Operation 1 of 6. It is entitled Skyfire. So, at the beginning, we're doing something that I don't know about you, but I personally adore and wish was in the game more, and wish the game was made up nothing of this mechanic of slow walking. I know you all adore it, but the extent to which you adore it, I don't really know. But I personally know that if I could walk the whole game slowly, it would be my best game ever. I would love that. But kidding aside, we have a timed sequence coming up over here. We're assisting our troops over here in waiting for the bomb to go off over here. Now you start with a combat knife over here. Now, once you clear this mission and you get to Operation 2, like right before Operation 2, that will be the first time you can go into the armory and select what weapons and melee weapon you want to bring into the stage. But on this particular stage, for some reason, they lock out the armory. You can't go in there. So we do start off with the default weapons, which I'm not sure what guns we have, but I do know that we have the combat knife, and I really don't care for the combat knife too much, so I'm going to switch that out for the chain sword when I can. And now on this walkthrough, there will be times when I look around the environment for objects. I won't be looking for collectibles, but this game has items like supplies everywhere, like everywhere. So it's in your best interest, even if you don't see me do it. For instance, if you see me run past caches of items that you know to be there, and maybe they're caches of items that contain some good weapon that you definitely want to pick up. By all means, if you see me running past that, it's just for expedience sake for the walkthrough, folks. I can't be going around every nook and cranny in every area looking for stuff, because it would just bog down the guide and make it even longer. I think this is like a 9-hour campaign. And do you see how these enemies are highlighted over here? I believe that's the bots doing their special attribute that we have. Now, we have an attribute here called it's like a special ability. You have a Righteous Fury for most of the game, which grants you the ability to regen some of your health, the red part of your health, that is. Also, med kits, they only regen the red area of your health bar, so it's for health. So those two things are for health. Any other thing is for shields. But just since you're using this for a walkthrough, and you're most likely not using it to make a walkthrough yourself. If you are, it's fine. But if you're just casually playing the game and you're using this to get you helped through the game, make sure you look everywhere, absolutely everywhere, because if you don't, you're going to miss out on potentially items that could later help you. For instance, the Guardian relics that you can pick up from time to time that give you the ability to revive yourself when downed. Those are very crucial items that you'll want to pick up. And you can get you can have one of those on hand at any given time. When I initially cleared Veteran, I thought that you know how you can hold 2 on Veteran, 2 medical stimulus kits. I thought they would drop that to 1, and that's not the case. So all my worries about coming into this difficulty and having like a lot of adjustments to my quota of items that I'm carrying, they were unfounded. That's probably because I didn't play the previous game, but it really, the difficulty itself has to do with recovering from setbacks, getting damaged more, having to deal enemies more damage, things along those lines. It's nice that they let you get revived in the same fashion and the same amount of times, and keep the same amount of they let you hold 2 stim kits just like always. This digger tyrannid over here, you got to watch out because while you're fighting the other ones, I couldn't segregate him and not fight the other ones. So he's going to cause us some shenanigans up here, and I missed some bullet time dodges over there, and I screwed it up. But I did get a parry on him. But maybe you can segregate him somehow so that you can just fight him. But I think there's just the foreshadowing of him at first, where you see him but you can't fight him, and then he only starts to be able to be fightable, so to speak, when these other ones appear. So I'm not sure about that. Now the other attribute that you get, the other special ability, is it's called a jump pack. You get that, I think, in chapter 4, and only on like 2, maybe at most 3 chapters, but I think it's more like two of the chapters you get the jump pack. All the other 4 chapters you just get the Righteous Fury. Now on the multiplayer, how do you say that? I'm so estranged from it, I don't know how to do it. Like co-op, and there's something called an operations mode and multiplayer. These are just things that I don't partake in. So it also should go without saying, I think I may have mentioned it. If I didn't mention it, I apologize, but this is a completely solo campaign run. The other teammates that I have with me, it says Gadriel and Carrion, those are just bots. So I don't have anybody doing co-op with me. So this is a completely single player, non-solo run of Angel of Death. So I just wanted to make sure, because the problem with this whole system of writing in the title and the descriptions is the game is so fucking long. The game is called Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2. That takes up like half of the character allowance for the title. If not half, then pretty close to half. But it's absolutely ridiculous that it's it's such a fucking long name. It's, oh my goodness! But it really forced me to write exactly what I needed to write on the title, because there was just no extra allowances for anything. And that's I don't know. That's just something that that I like to have. I'm sorry. Make sure that everybody knows that, because I don't know if I wrote it on the thumbnails for the videos, but I know it's in the description. Okay, so we have these spores in the air. Sorry, these spore enemies, and they're pretty obnoxious. They can be shot from far away, and I would recommend you do that, because if they get too close to you, then they will aggro. So try to shoot them when they're pretty neutral status, just so you can get rid of them, because they must be gotten rid of. You really can't fight with these things around, because they're going to damage you. They're going to cause your poison status effect to accrue and top out, which is going to put you into a very unpleasant green hazy screen, which happens over here, I do believe. But the Righteous Fury ability that we have in the bottom middle of the screen, that yellow diamond, that has a very long period of regeneration. So I would only use it when you're at your last wit's end about possibly needing to survive, because it will take forever to regenerate. Now, you might say, well, it will regenerate off a checkpoint. If you reset the checkpoint, you respawn yourself. Yes, it does. It should. But I don't know how. One thing I'm not totally sure on, and I think this is the area where, not quite yet. But sometimes when I go through the missions and I die, or I just reset the checkpoint, I restart with the same amount of health that I had before. And sometimes, like when I died, if I died with a sliver of health, or like half. Let's just say half my health, for lack of another example. Just say half my health was left when I either died or reset the checkpoint to respawn myself into the game. Then when I reloaded myself, I had that exact amount. I had half a health bar. And other times I've had it to where I've respawned and I had my whole health bar. So I don't really know what's going on with the system of regeneration as it pertains to multiple deaths. My suspicion is that when you do start to die, or if you reset the checkpoint, they are going to have you start out with the same amount of health. Oh, over here you want to backtrack because there is the automatic bolt gun with the grenade launcher on it, and this is what you want to have equipped for the escort mission with It's the first escort mission with the gargoyles on the antennas. You'll want to have that. I can give you other options for weapons, but that is my first choice, that you should have that weapon. Don't worry about using it because there's plenty coming up on the chapter. But what I think it is, if you die repeatedly, and I say die repeatedly loosely because even though you die, you're still going to get revived multiple times by your teammates. But let's say you go through the whole process of getting picked up and then you still die, right? And then what do you start with? What health do you start with? Well, I think you do start with initially the same amount of health that you had at some point. Maybe it locks in a certain number for you. But what I think it is that as you continually die or continually reset, I think the game slowly gives you back health incrementally, like it does on God of War to a certain extent. Now in God of War, you die and then you have the same amount of health, but if you repeatedly die, then they slowly give you back health up to a certain point, and it has to do with whatever difficulty you're on. You'll get more on lower difficulties, but I still don't know the whole ins and outs of how that works, about trying to get back to full health from repeated deaths. But thankfully, this difficulty is quite manageable. Even though it is Angel of Death, even though it is the hardest difficulty, yes, there are those escort missions that are standout difficulty sections, and there's 2 or 3 other sections, one of which I remember quite clearly is you're defending a nuclear reactor, and the game is always really good with giving you great checkpoints. I mean, for the most part, you're given very courteous checkpoints. Like, the checkpoints that you get, you really should be grateful for what you're getting, because they're giving you checkpoints that just go way beyond what anybody would expect anybody to give people. Especially on a hard difficulty, but the checkpoints are really good. They're even really good to the point of being a little too fair. But there's 1 or 2 parts where there's a poor checkpoint, and they really stand out because on that particular reactor section, it's a really long section. It's really easy to fail. And it is essentially an escort mission, I guess, because you have to preserve the reactors and not let them get destroyed and not let you get killed, right? But where you would think they would give you a checkpoint, they don't, which is unfortunate. And it makes that section very difficult. So, how do I feel about that? I feel in totality I wish that they were more consistent, but they are pretty consistent. It's just that there's just a few that aren't good. So I think overall it's pretty good. And for those bad checkpoints, I can definitely prepare you well in advance of them so that you come there, and make sure you get there with your max inventory of everything you want or might need. But the great thing about having the bolt gun with the grenade launcher on it is that the I was gonna say harpies, but the gargoyles that attack the antennas, you can get a lot of cluster kills of gargoyles with just 2 of the 4 grenades that you're given with that weapon. So you can expediently kill the gargoyles with the grenade launcher attachment, and like I said, it only takes about 2 to get them all cluster killed. And the good thing is there's another grenade launcher in that same area. So, since you have to deal with like 4 antennas, that will definitely be able to maybe, if you're only using 2, that's all you would need then. It would be 8. If my math is right? 2 times 4? Yeah, that equals 8. But there is another type of grenade called a crack grenade, Krak, and those do stick. They're sticky grenades, and I was thinking about using the crack grenades on the gargoyles to see if I could stick them onto the gargoyles and see if I can cluster kill them in that way. But I really don't know for sure how effective that is. I do know that if you land a crack grenade on a Zoranthrope, those flying enemies that buff the other ones, and which you will see on that antenna escort mission, if you do land one on them and it blows up, the hardest thing is to land it on it. It goes right into execution status, and you can get them the fuck out of your way because they're a big nuisance. They have a lot of HP in general, but being able to quickly kill them in that fashion is really helpful. But on this part over here, this is a timed section, and you just need to survive this. The gate behind us will eventually open, so it's just surviving this. Feel free to use your frags over here, because over to the left there's another pickup for those. And I think in the previous video too, I mentioned that I just simply misspoke early in the video that a veteran had 3 cells of shield, and I corrected it, and I think I corrected it later in the video when I was talking to. But no, on veteran and on Angel of Death, you get 2 armor cells. The cells beneath our main health bar on the top left of the screen. See how I have one of the cells filled in right there? I do know on normal difficulty you get 3. I'm not sure about easy difficulty if you get 4. I don't know. But I really truly thought that on this difficulty they would only give you 1 armor cell. So I was surprised as a vast understatement. I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked that I was getting 2. So I almost kind of wanted it to be one cell, because then that would tell anybody at a glance, if because if you just see 1 cell, then anyone could tell at a glance that it was on this difficulty, because at a glance you can't tell if it's on veteran or on Angel of Death just based on the number of cells you have there. You can analyze how much you're getting damaged and things like that, but really at a glance it would have been nice. I'm just talking about for aesthetics. Now, playing the game on this difficulty and having only 1 cell, I would not want that at all. But I don't know, I wish there was some other distinguishing factor that could tell anyone at a glance, so that they couldn't doubt what you were doing, which I hate those people when they do that. That we're actually playing on the difficulty that we're playing on. Also, get ready, folks, for the escort mission. It's not coming up for, let's see, probably 20 minutes or so. But I did promise you in the last video that I would prepare you for the escort mission with the gargoyles and the antennas. So just remember that it is coming up, and you will want to come there with max grenades. Whether you choose to bring frags or crack grenades, that's your choice. Just make sure whatever you bring is maxed out as far as your grenades. Make sure that you have the the bolt rifle with the grenade launcher, this weapon right here. And the other thing is you want to make sure you have two med kits in your inventory too. So max out those. And as far as the primary weapon, or the sidearm, I guess you'd say, the plasma pistol is really good as an alternative to the some of the bolt pistols. So either the plasma pistol or the heavy bolt pistol would be good, for its good damage. But the plasma pistol is also fantastic, and you can deal a lot of heavy damage with that too when you charge it up. And so just get ready, because one thing that you don't want to have is not all of your supplies, obviously. And I'll give you a personal anecdote about what happened on this first. I think this game came out 2 or 3 months ago, and I always played on veteran, and I never had any my ego would never let me lower the difficulty at any point, because it was either, I planned to play on the hardest difficulty. So if I couldn't beat the difficulty below that, then what's the point? So I always was steadfast in keeping it on veteran. And when I got to that part, like the first time I got there, like my first campaign ever on this particular game, I was on that part for many hours, and it got so depressing that I thought, just to hell with this. I don't want to do this. There's other games that I could play. It's just frustrating me too much. So I just I didn't give up, but I just set it aside and thought, oh, maybe I'll come back to it. And then I got more into it, and the whole notion of making a guide got more interesting to have that come to fruition, right? But I did struggle a whole hell of a lot, and the sequence coming up with the escort mission, I did die one time on it, but I did it the second time, and the whole thing about comparing how competent one needs to be at a game before he can hold his own on any particular game. It really does show you that how long I was struggling initially. I mean, hours, just hours upon hours. It was just I would come back to it. I would do it a few times. I couldn't do it. I restarted the campaign several times to get back to that spot with what I thought would be more ideal weapons. And it all just came down to a lack of familiarity with the game. But the more that I struggled with it and got familiar with how the game worked, and came into acquisition of the game, the knowledge of the game and its idiosyncrasies, and how things worked with it, the better I got at it. So that I was running through the game so many times, restarting the campaign so often, that I did finally beat it on veteran. But having gone through veteran, and having gone through Angel of Death, partly just up to that point, on the escort mission on Angel of Death, I had spent a lot more time with the game than I really had any business. I had no business complaining about it early on, because I was just brand new to the game. I didn't know how it worked very well. So once I got to this difficulty. And on this video, it just took 2 tries. So it does come down to experience, and that's obvious. We all know that. The more you play a game, the better you get at it. But it's not only that, though. The thing is, you really do need to come there with an idea, like an exact idea of what you want to have as a strategy for yourself. Oh, down here, you notice that there's a spawn down here. That's where the plasma pistol is. That spawn occurred off camera because I did clear everything. I got the reach objective over there. But when I came down there, there was that other spawn, and I wasn't recording at the time, so I apologize about that. It's just an optional spawn that occurs if you go down there and try to get the pistol, the plasma pistol, that is. Do you see the white dot in the middle of the screen? Some games let you take that off without sacrificing the gun reticle, but if you can't make that sacrifice in this game. If you take that white dot off, you get no reticle. I think there's a lot of other games where you don't have to have that white dot on the screen, and you're still able to get a gun reticle for for all of the other weapons. So I do. So if you're wondering about that, I would just as soon not have that white dot on. But if I don't have the white dot on, then I have no gun reticle. I can't see where I'm shooting. So that's one thing that I kind of dislike about the options. I think it's kind of a silly way of doing things. They give you so many accessibility options. You can fine tune your HUD to your heart's content. But here's the plasma pistol in action. If you do a charge on it, it will take away 10 of the ammunition. And it does have a charge that builds up for about 10 seconds. So I think it's even longer than Neo's Charge Shot 3 from Devil May Cry 4 and 5, which I think was, in that game, 8 seconds approximately. So this is an even longer charge with this particular weapon. And the more you build up the charge, the more damage you'll be dealing to the enemies. And what happens with it, though, is that if you are using it as a semi-automatic weapon instead of charging it, you'll fire, and then the red buildup around the gun reticle, I think it's like an octagon or something. When all the lines of that octagon are filled up, the gun does overheat at that point. So just bear that in mind. I think over here, there's a fade to black or something over here. I'm not sure what happens over here, but having the bolt rifle with the grenade launcher, I'm telling you, it's extremely helpful. I mean, it could be the main thing that you perhaps haven't been trying, and maybe having tried it, you will have success where you weren't able to have success previously. So I'm hoping that that's the case, because so let's just take a look. I've explained it before, but there's 4 antenna terminals, right? And there's 4 grenades that you get with each clip for this weapon, and there's another grenade launcher too. So you have a total of 8 grenades that you can use. 8 grenade launcher rounds that you can use. And since there are 4 antennas, you only want to use 2 grenades from that gun per antenna. But what I do is I abstain from using the grenade launcher attachment on that weapon on the first antenna, because you're not under much duress or any stress or pressure on the very first antenna you deal with. It's just that once you start dealing with the second, third, and fourth antenna, that's when all hell breaks loose, and it's a huge chaotic shit fest. And you might want to use the grenades to cluster kill enemies that are on the ground. So I like to have extras where that's concerned. So I save my, like I said, I save my grenades for the second through the fourth antennas. And I only use 2 grenade launcher rounds per antenna. And that, if done correctly, if you're accurate enough, those 2 grenade launcher rounds will take off all of the gargoyles off of the antenna that you're dealing with. And that's a huge saving grace, because that's going to dispatch them quickly. It's going to not cause you to have to loiter too much, shooting with another weapon that might take longer to reach the same result, right? And then that will also enable you to save some of that ammunition. Now, you can't get the grenades for that gun back from ammo crates. You can only get more grenades, and you probably guessed it, but you can only get more grenades if you pick up the same weapon. So you'll have to find another one of those grenade launchers. But the good thing is, right where the checkpoint is, down the ramp, you'll see antenna number 1. Well, over to the right, and I'll point this out while we're doing it too when we get there, but over to the right there's another bolt rifle with grenade launcher on it. So there's plenty of supplies. There's more supplies than you'll need, trust me. But since it's so hectic, it's sometimes difficult to try to remember on the spur of the moment, when things are shooting at you and enemies are getting buffed by those zoanthrope enemies that fly, and spores are coming at you, and ground-based enemies are coming at you, and you're on a timer, and you're trying to not reach a fail state, and not get knocked down so many times that you can't get revived any longer. And I'm fairly sure as well that there is no Guardian Relic that you can pick up that you can get to that escort mission with. I think the Guardian Relic premieres in Operation 2 forward. Now, I could be wrong, Scour every inch and try to look for a Guardian Relic if you can find one. And again, the Guardian Relics allow you to instantly pick your stuff up when you've been fallen in combat. So you don't have to wait around for teammates to come get you. And that can save, a lot of hassle. Because if you're on the ground too long and things are going so badly out of control while you're just laying there waiting for teammates to pick you up, that fail state is just a constant pressure on your back. So this is the zoanthrope. I think we may have seen him earlier, but this is him down here. And I am going to try to get you through this as most efficiently as I can with this mission, because this game just has a utter fascination and adoration and a love for escort missions. There's an escort mission with there's a chain sequence, I think in Operation 3. Yeah, 3. There's a fade to black right there. But that chain escort mission also has gargoyles, but I don't think it's as difficult as the one that ends this chapter. Now, the area that we just dropped down from, there is a bolt rifle with a grenade launcher up there, and whether or not you get that just depends on if you have it already. But feel free, if you come down here and you already have the grenade launcher, there's another one on this level too, like over to our left. As we leave, I'll be picking it up, so feel free to use the grenade launcher as much as you want over here. Just you know, just use all 4 grenades and then pick up the grenade launcher as you leave, so that then you're maxed out with the grenades as you leave, because it's going to be coming up in pretty short amount of time. So again, just look for any opportune incendiary canisters that you can blow up, and how is the grenade launcher as a weapon? The other part of it, the rifle itself, I think it has as like a bad quality. I think it has a clip that doesn't have very many rounds that it can hold. So it has a short. It's the magazines for the actual bullets. It's a very small magazine, and its rate of fire. If I just had to just guess, I think it's not very quick. So there's a couple of downsides to the weapon. But having those grenades is, I think, indispensable for going through this escort mission coming up without, getting yourself too scathed up, Can you do it without the grenade launcher? Oh, of course. Yeah, of course. You don't have to have it. I'm just trying to have this so that people can get through it with, the easiest amount of effort expended and the least amount of hardship endured. So we have some canisters down here. We're still holding on to the plasma pistol. I would only throw, since we're getting so close to that escort mission, I would only throw frag grenades if I knew that there were more around somewhere that I could pick up as I was leaving. Same goes for the med kits. You'll want to make sure that you have those. And yeah, as for the Righteous Fury, yeah, I'm pretty sure that there's not one on this chapter. But prove me wrong. Find one and it'll make it even easier for you. Okay, so there is one sequence before the escort mission, and what this is a sequence that occurs after this elevator lift. Now, on these elevator lifts, if they're short enough, I will leave them in real time, and I won't fast forward them. There's a data slate over there, but since it has that line over it, it appears that I cannot pick it up. Therefore, I've already picked it up. But any drawn out elevator ride, I do put it in fast forward. Okay, so over here we have to raise the pedals of these satellite dishes. There's 4 of them. The first one that you get to, you can spin it and completely complete the spinning process without being molested over here. And how this works is that you're going to be going around doing the same thing that you just did and trying not to get ambushed near any of the wheel sites. So try to go seek out the wheels, because you don't have to do them in any particular order. Just find any areas that seem more or less devoid of enemies, and that you have a good feeling that you might be able to get over to it without too many enemies coming up at you while you're doing this. Now, if you need to stop spinning it, you can. I don't know if when you resume spinning, if you have to resume spinning from the very start or if it saves your progress. I'm not sure about that. It would be nice if you could have your progress saved as far as how much you've already turned it, but I don't know. Enemies can, of course, hit you while you're turning the wheels. Can they knock you off, like literally knock you off of it? I don't know. I think it's just that you get damage from them. So, just again, bear in mind that the immediate next section is that very difficult escort mission. In my opinion, it is the hardest of all the escort missions in this game, and shit, there are a lot of This game just has a fucking fetish for escort missions. Anyway, we just have one more pedal to raise over here. Why did I jump off that? One of the reasons I jumped off it was I suspected there were a lot of enemies nearby. The reason I jumped out it initially was because I thought there weren't. But I think I might have heard enemies, or just, I don't know, maybe I just had a prescient notion that they were coming or something. But I do know, I just did this. I do know that one of the reasons was I wanted to make sure that I had a good look around. I didn't know if I was going to be. I didn't know if they immediately transported you out of this area after you throw the last wheel and get it all turned. Because if they did that, then I wouldn't have a chance to loot this area, and I wanted to make sure that I had properly looted it. So I wanted to have a look around. That's why I jumped off. But I think we're finished doing that. And, you know, again, if you're missing any med kits, if you're missing any frag grenades, make sure you pick those up. I'm down one frag grenade, so hopefully I have the foresight to get some more. So I do know that I need some more. Here we go. Good. I was worried for a moment that I hadn't done that. And it's real easy to do things like that, just to forget something like that. But again, I'm here for you, and just absolutely make sure everything's maxed out, everything's reloaded, everything's exactly the way you want it, because this part's hard. Alright, here we go with this first part. Now, the gargoyles are always going to attack this first antenna, so right from the checkpoint, it's the antenna right down the ramp and to the left. Now, I start off by using the plasma pistol over here, and over to my immediate right, there is another bolt rifle with a grenade launcher. But we're not going to pick that up until we've used all of our, our secondary weapon for those grenades. So pick up ammo over here, and what I suggest you do is don't pick up the crack grenades yet. I would use the crack grenades on the Zoranthrope enemies that come a little bit later. So when you get over here, you're going to be met with a mob of enemies over here. So toss frags at them, get them cleared up, and you will hear the gargoyles screech, meaning that they're coming to attack an antenna. And anytime that it says defend on the antenna, you must start defending it. And the way that it works is that you will see a little signpost that will lead you over to where the antenna is that's being attacked. So you need to look for that signpost and also listen for the screech of the gargoyles. So here's the second antenna on which these guys alighted. I start using the grenades right away on them. If two doesn't get the job done, use a third if you have to. Just remember that you saved some by not using the grenades on the first antenna, because you're under no stress or any type of duress on that. But there's the grenade launcher. I don't think I picked it up properly, did I? I'm not sure. But anytime you see an antenna that has a health, like over to the right, anytime there's an antenna, doesn't matter what number it is or letter it is, if you can see the health integrity bar, that means it's being attacked. So immediately start pelting it with the grenades, and use your plasma pistol as best as you can. We need to act quick, and you do need to act quick over here, because you need to get these guys off. It's got to be your number one priority. But in the meantime, if any enemies are around you and you can get off a a quick execution, by all means do that. Or if one of the smaller enemies tries to lunge at you with that blue circle parry, definitely parry him so you can get some of your shields back. And then pick up the med packs. Remember, the med packs only give you health back. They don't have anything to do with your shields. So here's the third antenna. Get on it as quickly as you possibly can. And again, once you do run out of the grenades, go back to that area that I mentioned, right down the ramp and to the right by the checkpoint area. And it's these times that are really worrisome, because you've got the Zoranthropes that are rearing their ugly heads. But we landed a crack grenade on him, and if you do that, it's not easy to do. You'll down him instantly, and you'll be able to execute him. Now, I think I missed my my second crack grenade, so try your best to. I don't know if that enemy permits you to lock onto it, since it's an airborne enemy, but try your best to be as accurate as you can in lining up your crack grenade, because those Zoranthropes, they just have way too much HP, and they're causing hijinks all the time. You know, they're buffing other enemies. Spores are coming at you. The Tier 9 warriors are shooting their poison shit at you, and you've got a lot of ground-based enemies. Plus, of course, you know, you still got to protect the antennas. But once the antennas are all protected, though, you can breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief, because I think at this point we have protected all the antennas. It's just that now we need to stay alive, and it's a lot less stressful when you don't have to deal with the antennas and those gargoyles. So, just practice this area a couple times. Just go around and locate where all of the items are, so that when you're circling around, you always know what you're close to. And the only thing left is just to interact with this. But that might have seemed really quick, and it wasn't quick for me originally. It really wasn't. But I'm hoping that with the basic strategies that I was hoping to impart to you, and that I hope that will serve you enough for you to be able to get through that. Because as long as you can abide by the basic tenets of how that fight can be controlled using the items and the techniques that I hopefully imparted to you in a reasonable to understand fashion, that it won't take you that long. But just remember, it does come down to familiarity with it and practice and accrued skill. So if you have to die X number of times, just think of that as an investment in getting better at the game and learning how to deal with it, because you're not going to beat that on the first try. It won't happen. It's very difficult. It's definitely, I think it's probably, it's easily the hardest escort mission, but anyway, that has been Operation 1. I will see you in the second operation, and that is a cleared video. But again, just be careful that with those Zoranthropes, because they can cause all kinds of trouble. You can't have enemies getting buffed constantly when you're trying to deal with other threats. To speak nothing of the gargoyles, who can cause you that fail state quickly. So I think I've spoken a little overlong here, and I do apologize about that, but hopefully that does get you through it, and I will see you in the next video. And until then, please continue to take care.